Welcome to The Focused View, the podcast for eye care professionals across Australia. Brought to you by Opticare. In each episode, we bring together leading eye care, optical and business professionals to share valuable insights, practical tips, and the latest trends shaping the optical business landscape. I'm your host, Michael Nasser, and together we'll explore innovative strategies for practice growth, patient care, and business success in the eye care industry. Whether you're starting your career, managing a practice, or just looking to stay ahead of the field, The Focused View is your source for inspiration and knowledge. Today, we're excited to continue our special three-part series with Kayla Ashlee, founder of Spexy, a leading training and resource platform that has helped over 1,200 independent optical stores in North America enhance their team's performance, patient engagement, and business operations. In our last episode, we explored the importance of structured training and how it can transform team performance and practice success. Today, we're shifting the focus to something just as important: soft skills and human connection in optometry. Optometry isn't just about prescriptions and eyewear. It's about building relationships. In a world where patients have more choice than ever, human connection is one of the biggest competitive advantages independent practices have. But in today's digital age, are we losing those skills? In today's episode with Kayla, we break down why soft skills matter just as much as technical expertise in patient care, how the rise of technology is impacting human interaction in optical practices, practical techniques to improve patient engagement from the front desk to the exam room, and how to train your team to be confident, approachable, and service-driven. If you want to create a stronger, more engaged team and a patient experience that keeps people coming back, this episode is packed with actionable insights and tips. So let's get into it. I guess from the insights that you have, and obviously with the courses that you've got, when it comes to, building this patient loyalty, or this comfort with your patients where you're serving them not necessarily just to sell, not to be that, that salesman type or saleswoman type of person, there's a whole heap of soft skills, I guess, that you'd be quite mindful of. And so, and I'm only bringing it up now because we're speaking about this particular point, so I think it's quite relevant. In your experience and from what you've seen with the practices that you've worked with over the years, what are some of those main soft skills that can be used so you don't come across as salesy? Because I know it's something that a lot of stores, are challenged with, and a lot of, trainers are challenged with, and a lot of staff are challenged with.
Yes, very much so. So when it comes to soft skills are so overlooked these days. And I would say that because society is now trending so much towards these things, right? We're so interlocked with this. I call it the adult pacifier.
Well, that's right? You referred to that when we were doing our pre-interview, and I actually have used that term a couple of times, so I've got to give you credit there. It is an adult pacifier, exactly.
It is. It really is. And the reality is that since, society is so here with our phones, unfortunately, the soft skills at a societal level are not as common as we once had them, right?
Yeah.
But it's good for us because in today's society, if you can train your team, or let us train your team, on perfecting these soft skills, the reality is that you can take someone from having a average experience that they get everywhere they go, from the coffee shop person who isn't looking them in the eye to someone at the bank who is, just sitting there talking to somebody else and not going out of their way, or checking their phone and not going out of their way to greet someone. These soft skills, when they come into your office, just a small implementation of some of these soft skills can blow them out of the water. And some of these soft skills include things like how you approach a patient. One of the small things, and we have an entire series that we teach on this, by the way, it's called Stop the Walkouts. And all of it is on verbal and nonverbal communication that really influences these soft skills. Now, tell me, when somebody comes into your office and your team gets them all checked in and they say, all right, Sally will be right out to grab you and get you started on your testing. You can go ahead and have a seat in the waiting area or in the optical or whatever. That is an average setup, right? However, if you get that person all checked in and you walk out from behind the counter What? Walk out from behind the desk? No. Yes, you can walk out from behind the desk and say, you know what, Mary, I've got you all checked in. Our pre-tester is about ready to come out and grab you here in just a minute. But let me go ahead and show you the best frames that we just got in. They are so beautiful and they're new to our practice. So I just wanted to be able to show you so you can start taking a look around, and our pre-tester will be right out to grab you. That is another level of that soft skill communication that makes them feel human. Right? It creates this level of connection that is so much more powerful than just being like, all right, go ahead and have a seat. We'll call you in a minute. Now, the next one is when, the pre-tester or the tester comes out to get the patient. Then another opportunity is many will walk out to the waiting area or to the optical and they'll go, Mary, calling them back. Mary, we're ready for you. Okay. Nobody is going to leave your office when they have an experience like that. They're not going to leave. Yeah. They're not going to write a bad review. They're not going to anything else. However, if you walk out and you check with that front desk person on who Mary is, and you walk your little feet over to where Mary is and say, hi, Mary, my name is Kayla. I'm going to be starting your testing. Let's go ahead and get you back, right? That right there, those are extra little tiny things that create this level of kind of concierge, really well taken care of service that many don't get in our everyday experiences. And to be able to have those little tiny soft skills is really powerful.
Yeah.
Moving back to the optometrist in the exam rooms with the development of electronic health records, right? Where we're always inputting things on our darn computers all the time. The reality is a lot of the work that we are doing with the patients, a lot of the communication with the patient is like this. Okay. Okay. And when this is happening, this is a very disconnected feel. However, it's a feel that we're used to with going into any sort of medical, type facility. We're used to it. We're used to somebody being on the darn computer and clicking away while we're having a conversation.
Yeah. Not facing the patient. So
that's right.
For the people that aren't watching this or that are listening to this, it's effectively when someone's when someone's typing away at a computer and entering and not actually focusing on the person in front of them.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's a common scenario that we have in many sort of, it's not even in optometry or doctor or anything else, in any sort of field where we have someone that we're visiting and they have to enter in this type of data. This is happening all the time. So what happens is the importance of the doctor or optometrist being able to face the patient and create an innate connection. There is a human connection that is created when you can give someone, I think it's about 30 seconds is what most of the tests say. 30 seconds, I say 30 seconds to a minute of facing them. It's called facing. So what facing means is that your face is looking at them. Your torso is looking at them. Your hands are still in a listening position. Your knees are pointed towards them and your feet are pointed towards them. The reality is a lot of us will try and be typing on our computer and looking back and forth from our computer and looking at the patient. But it's almost like, how you were taught in speech class in middle school to read your things and then every third sentence to look up and read that sentence. Remember that? Yeah. We were all taught that in speech class. The reality is that that's essentially what we're doing. It's fake and it's phony. So if you only give your patient 30 seconds to a minute of undivided attention. Now, we've found that the best form of undivided attention is when you get into the exam room and they're sitting down in front of you and you say, hello, and you greet them, hello, Michael, my name is Kayla. I'm going to be doing all of your exam today. And so let's go ahead and have a seat. Now, let me ask you, how have you liked your visit in our office so far? Okay, for a new patient, that's something that's actually very powerful because they can start reflecting on how their visit has been so far. What's great about that is you listen. You do not turn and you do not start your computer. Don't do it.
Fight the urge.
So what you do, so you listen to what they're saying. As they're talking, you say, that's fabulous. Once they're done, you say, that's fabulous. Thank you for that feedback. I'll make sure, because usually they'll say positive things, but you say, thank you for that feedback. And if not, then you can fix it. But here nor there, the point is that you wait till they're done, you respond, and then you say, now, Michael, I'm going to need to go ahead and open up your exam here and get it started on the computer. While I'm doing that, go ahead and tell me a little bit about how you were using your eyes. What do you do for work? Kind of tell me about your lifestyle. Then, so in this time, you've already spent your 30 seconds-ish, right? So then you go back to your computer. And then you can do the back and forth thing. That's fine. Okay. As you're getting it pulled up, once you get that exam pulled up and everything pulled up, you turn back to them. And this is the last time that we really strictly want you to face them again. And we want you to say, okay, so tell me a little bit about what has changed with your eyes and what's going on with your eyes. You're facing them during this part of the conversation. Usually take about another 30, 45 seconds that they're telling you the issue. You say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and enter that into your chart. Go ahead and keep talking and, tell me more about that. Then this is okay. You have already at this point giving them effectively a minute to possibly 2 minutes. If you've got a real talker, maybe 3. But even as such, this creates such an intense bond where we have, kind of that enhanced bedside manner. But what it's doing is it's creating a really intense, innate human bond just because you've given them that connection of a minute. And that's it. That's all you got to do.
Created it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the take home from what you're saying there is it's the word connection. I mean, in all of what you're trying to do, you're trying to connect with the patient. I guess I'm going to say at a deeper level, but, in a way that resonates, that they understand that you're there for them and you're there to help them. And what I like about what you explained there is even, in the example of the optometrist in the consulting room, or it could be even the dispenser or the receptionist out the front, you mentioned to actually say, well, hold on, ask a question, but say, while you do that, I'm actually going to I'm going to open up your file and I'm going to start, so you're actually almost letting them know that you're doing that. So when you're not looking at them, you're actually, you've already informed them that you're not going to be. And so it seems a lot
there's
more
a level
genuine.
Of understanding.
Yeah, there is. And there's communication in that. And that then makes the patient feel more comfortable and feel important. And I think that's, I guess from what I'm hearing, that seems to be the main take home there with soft skills. It's a lot more complicated, and I'm sure your training goes through it in a lot more detail, but it's all about that connection.
That's right. That's right. Well, and think about that connection. So we have, some of the biggest concerns in independent eye care is, we don't want to be losing out patients to the big box stores. Yes. We don't want to be losing out patients to online, right? Or AI or all these other big fears that are happening, right? Well, if you are giving your patient this kind of superficial, not really connected, going through all the check boxes kind of exam, yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's going to be very similar as them going to a big box store or them having an online consultation with an online optometrist. Okay. But the reality is that if you have a connection with them like this, that's on such a deeper level, it has that human connection. If, heaven forbid, that they do end up having an experience like going online, like going to a big box where they're just a number, they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to go see my optometrist, Michael, because he was fabulous, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like a number. So I believe it's vitally important for independent optometrists to go out of their way to make sure that not only you back, in your patient exam lane, but also the rest of your team putting forth this soft skill effort, because this is something that AI can't replicate, that online can't replicate, and that the big box stores are going to have a really darn hard time replicating.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting about what you're saying, and as you're saying it, is I think of some of the stores that we interact and we deal with, and there are a lot of very well-established stores that have been around for a while, and you see that they're already doing these things. And so you can see the successful stores that are successful from my point of view and why they are. And a lot of them, it is because of that personal relationship. It is because of the connection, the staff, whether it's the optometrist, the dispenser, the store owner, make with their customers. And it comes naturally, or their patients. It comes naturally. I think where this is really powerful is for the younger optoms or the younger dispensers. And, the ones that probably are more affected by the adult pacifier than the older generation from the point of view of them knowing, they're used to, going somewhere and speaking to somebody and not meeting somebody through, there's a very much a digital, I guess, mindset with people at a younger age. And so I think this is where this becomes really powerful, because as simple or as common as it may seem, or what we think to be, it may not be. And so if you're a practice and you've got younger staff members in particular, you've got a new grad optom, and in Australia, a lot of the new grads end up invariably going to the corporates because they're entrenched into the university system in a very big way, as opposed to an independent who can't be. So they generally, for the most part, get, siphoned off to the corporates and they're there. And I would assume, and I could be wrong, that depending on where they end up, there isn't much of that training on the soft skills and about the human side and the connection side. It's all about the business operation and how the numbers which are all important and we'll touch on as well in some capacity. But I think that's where It's really powerful in terms of what it could do and what it can do.
Well, and I might have a slightly conflicting opinion for just a moment.
Good.
Where we are seeing with some of our very well-established opticals, offices as a whole, where we're seeing with our established offices that they have a very, tenured representation in their small communities where, maybe they're generational optometrists that have been there forever. And they have, little Sally Mae that's been coming in and she's 100 years old and everyone knows everyone in these small towns. The reality is that they are unknowingly dropping these soft skills that once made them great.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the eye health records for the doctors, because it's causing us to have that disconnect that we still think that our heart's still there. Our heart is still where, we're giving our patient that full attention and everything else, not realizing that those soft skills that have actually dialed back from before when, we would be writing on paper, like, oh, write it down and then sit there and talk with them and have a conversation. It wasn't this, right? And so by I mean being on the computer for those listening.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So the reality is it's not just with the doctors either. It is with the new, and you kind of hit on it a little bit, with the new upcoming staff, even for the well-established practices and the well-established offices, that the new and upcoming staff, we have some of these, conflicts with, Gen Zers are, so hard to train and they're so hard. The reality is it's not just the Gen Zers, because what happens is, Jenna, who's been there for 20 years, now has the influence of her phone too. And we're all dropping kind of this level of acceptance for what these soft skills are. So I would encourage that even the well-established practices go through a reflection process of some of these soft skills, because there are many that I would place a very big bet, so that there are many that you don't even realize, like, oh my gosh, we're totally not doing that. We could be doing that. Whether you've done it before or not, it's still an opportunity. So that would be my only conflicting opinion.
No, and it's a great point. No, you're right. And because it has caught a lot of us out in terms of, the technology and whether you are older, you generally get consumed by it as well. And what does that do without reflection? Who knows? But if you do reflect, then you can take stock. I think then you can assess whether there are areas of improvement and the things that can be done.
I love it.
Thank you for joining us on The Focused View, proudly presented by Opticare. It's been our privilege to share the insights and stories that resonate deeply with the eye care community. We hope today's episode has not only inspired you, but also armed you with the practical strategies and innovative ideas to help you enhance your practice and professional journey. If you found value in our conversation, we'd be grateful if you could leave us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform. And share this episode with your colleagues. It helps us reach more eye care professionals like you and grow our community of visionaries. Stay connected by subscribing to The Focused View and visiting our website www.thefocusedview.com.au for additional resources and episode summaries. We look forward to your company again in our next episode. Until then, keep focused. I'm Michael Nasser. Bye for now.